Alright, boys and girls, this morning we're going to talk about solving percent problems. Our specific learning objective, or what you're going to write at the top of your WSQ, is your learning objective that says, how do you use percents to solve problems? Okay? And what I need you to remember is that a percent is a comparison of a number to 100. Okay? If you remember our definition from previous lessons, a percent means per 100. Okay? So a percent is equivalent to the ratio of the part to the whole. Now you might be saying, what are you talking about, Mr. Bell? Well, here's what I'm talking about. I have the percent compared to 100, just like we've been talking about in different chapters, and I have the part going to be compared to the whole. Now this whole thing is a proportion, and you can use this proportion to solve just any kind of problem dealing with percents. Okay, so you need to remember this particular proportion. In our first example, we're going to find the part of a number. Okay, and this is essentially what we've been doing all along. Okay, so in order to find a percent of a number, you can write a ratio to represent the percent, and then find an equivalent ratio that compares the part to the whole. Okay, so here's our problem. Our first question is, what is 60% of 300? These are the kind of problems we've been doing in class. This is the stuff you should be familiar with. So if you follow this format here, you should have no problem solving this particular problem. So all you have to do is just plug in the values. So it says, what is 60% of 30? So I know my percent right here. Let me get my pen on. I don't know why I keep forgetting this. We know the percent. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is write my percent over 100. Okay, and that's going to be equal to or equivalent to the part over the whole. So when I'm talking about what is 60% of 300, okay, I'm looking for the part. I know the percent and I know the whole is 300. So I'm looking for, let me just use a variable n here, and my whole is going to go on the bottom, and that's 300. Okay, so now I can use the proportion like we've done in class to figure out the value of n. So I look at the denominator here and I say, okay, this is 100, and then the denominator over here is 300. What did I multiply or divide 100 by to get 300? Well, if you're thinking about it, you know that we multiplied by 3. Okay, so 100 times 3 is 300. So in order to keep it equivalent, I can multiply 60 times 3 to get the value of n. So 60 times 3, if you have to do the multiplication, you can say 60 times 3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 6 is 18. So the value of n is 180. Okay? So that's one way that we can solve this problem. What we've been doing in class up till now, so you can see a comparison, we would say we have 60% out of 100, and we're going to multiply that because it says what of. Of means to multiply. We've talked about that in class. So 60% of 300. Alright? Now, if you remember correctly, we need to turn it into a fraction. So I'm going to put the 300 over 1. And now I would simplify first. I'm going to go ahead and simplify the 100 and the 300. And I'm going to divide by 100, which is going to give me 1, and that's going to give me 3. So my answer, I'm going to kind of bring it down here, is going to be 1 times 1 is 1, and then 60 times 3, well, we already know that, is 180 over 1, which simplifies to 180. Okay? So that's another way you can do it. There's actually a third way we can do this, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time. We know this. But the third way is to turn 60% into a decimal. Okay? In order to turn it into a decimal, we learned this in class just yesterday. You take 60, help if I had it on the pen. You take 60, put it over 100, and then just divide. Okay? You divide 60 by 100. Now there's a shortcut to this that I've been telling you about when you're dividing by a power of 10. Alright, when you're dividing by a power of 10, you simply move the decimal 2 places to the left. So my decimal is here, and I move it 2 places to the left. So my answer is, wait a second, hold on. My answer is going to be 0.60. Okay? So the decimal equivalent of 60% is 0.60, or just 0.6. And then you can take that number and multiply it times 300. Okay, so you can take 300 and multiply it times 0.6. Alright, 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 3 is 18. I have one decimal place in my answer, or in my factor rather. So my answer is going to have one decimal place, and it's also going to be 180. Okay, so that's just 3 different ways that you can find the percent of a number. Okay, our next example is going to be finding the whole. Okay, so here's our problem. It says 300 is 60% of what number? We're going to use this format again in order to find what that number is. Okay, so once again, we just fill in what we know. We know our percent is 60. There we go. We know it's over 100 because it's always going to be over 100. We know 300 is 60% of what number? So 300 is the part. Okay, 300 is the part, and we are looking for the whole. So I'm going to represent that with a variable again. Okay, so the same thing applies here. I don't know what the value of n is, so I can't use the 100 to get me there, but I do know the top, or the numerator, in both these situations. So I can say to myself, okay, what can I multiply 60 by to get 300? Okay, what can I multiply 60 by to get 300? Well, it just so happens that you would multiply 60 times 5 to get 300. So I multiply the bottom times 5, and guess what n's going to be? N times 100 is 500. Alright, so 300 is 60% of 500. Alright, so all we did here is we used proportional reasoning to solve a problem which we knew the part and a percent and needed to find the whole. Okay, and our final example is when we need to find the percent. We know the part and we know the whole. We just need to find the percent. Okay, so here is our situation. I want to find, or I have 60, and that's a certain percentage of 300, and we need to know what percent that is. Okay, so we're using this formula here. We have percent over 100 is going to be equal to the part over the whole. Okay, so we need to figure out what we know. I don't see a percent number in here, so guess what? I don't know the percent, but I do know the part and I know the whole. Okay, so we just go ahead and fill that information in, and then we can solve. So I don't know the percent, so that's going to be a variable over 100. Okay, that's supposed to be a 0. And we know the part, which is 60. And we know the percent, we know the whole, which is 300. Okay, so all we need to do is now, since I know both the bottoms, I can just look at the 100 and say, what did I multiply or divide 100 by to get 300? And it's simple enough. I just multiplied by 3. So that means, and that is a 3. So that means I multiply the top times 3 to get 60. Well, I don't know what I multiplied by 3 to get 60, so I have to divide 60 by 3. Okay, and that will tell me, and I do this because division is the opposite of multiplication. Alright, so I divide 60 by 3, and 3 will go into 60, or 6 rather, 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. I subtract, I get 0. I bring this 0 down. 3 will go into 0, 0 times. So n times 3 is 60. So n is 20, and we can check it. 20 times 3 is 60. So our value of n is 3. I'm sorry, not 3. What am I saying? Not 3. Mr. Bell. Well, I'd have heard all kinds of craziness in school tomorrow if you came in saying, that was wrong, Mr. Bell. Alright, so Make sure you complete your Cornell notes and you do your WSQ. If you understand everything about this video, you need to come up with a question that we can share in class as a warm-up, and try to come up with your own. Do a word problem. Also, I have linked in the assignment on Edmodo a quick 3-question little thing I need you to fill out, and have that done by the time you get to class on Tuesday. Okay?